Yeah, Ancient Heart here. Well, another response to a comment, because there's so many comments that, like I said before, I think so many other people could relate to as well. So on the video I did, BPD sudden discard of marriage and family is not a midlife crisis at all. We're going to forget that video. Never mind. A commenter says, excuse me, I'm just curious, is it likely that a person with BPD would try to Hoover after a divorce? Well, let me just say again, not all people with BPD are the same. Not all of them are going to Hoover at all, let alone after a divorce. But the best way to kind of partially answer that question for yourself, to the commenter and anybody else that relates, would be by the pattern if you had breakups prior and you know this person, so kind of gauging what you think they're most likely to do as one part of this answer. But so would they try to Hoover after divorce? And you said if there's a child involved. Well, I think that either way, whether there's a child involved or not, many with BPD are more likely to Hoover even after divorce. And some wouldn't be likely to Hoover at all. So hard to say really whether or not, you know, your ex-wife will Hoover after the divorce or not. I think you have to be prepared that she may well, but hope for the best type thing. And by the way, a lot of these difficult situations that people are in, just saying generally, not to the commenter, I'm out here to work with you if I resonate with you, to help people to deal with all of these various different situations, including what's going on in if people are trying to co-parent, or somebody has one custody of the children, and then will the ex with BPD Hoover, and what's going to happen with that, right? Which is not the same in every case by any means. And the commenter said, I'm currently being ghosted. Okay, so I take it that that's what you want, right? So currently you're not being Hoovered, I think is what you're saying there. I'm hoping child support would keep her at bay, but I'm wondering if those payments are likely sufficient to prevent Hoover attempts. Well, one thing that might have helped, but may not have been able, you know, you might not have been able to put into, legally probably couldn't put into any divorce decree or agreement, is if those payments were suspendable or revisitable if they do Hoover, if they do, which the law might not say if they Hoover, but if they bother you or they seek to contact you in ways that it may well have been already adjudicated that they're not supposed to do. So I think that unless those payments, let me say this, unless and even if those payments were tied to you only get them if you behave yourself and do ABC, like don't come around, don't bother us, don't bother the child, even then it's hard to say that a lot of people with BPD still wouldn't Hoover, right? So again, they're not all the same, so I don't know about your ex and the likelihood of a Hoover or not. But in general, payments, because probably legally can't be tied to being taken away if they behave poorly, right? So if they Hoover, if they come around, if they're harassing, because then you have to deal with a different area of the law. So the bottom line is I don't think payments will really keep somebody that really, really might, and I'm not saying I know this about your ex at all, but when a borderline really is like someone who's just going to Hoover and they're not going to leave you alone, like because they don't respect boundaries, etc., and maybe they feel like for a time they can feel, you know, if they have generous payments, they can feel pretty good about that. But then after a while, they might just not care about that and Hoover, etc. So I think that the payments alone aren't necessarily going to be a motivator enough for your ex after divorce to not Hoover. But then again, whether or not she'll Hoover really depends on her own patterns and to what degree she has BPD and if she's had any treatment or not. And I think you said you were wondering if the payments are likely sufficient to prevent Hoover attempts. Generally, for those that will Hoover, no. But, you know, it's hard to say, right? Because, no, generally money never makes a borderline respect your boundaries. Money doesn't make them go away. So, you know, it really comes down again to whether or not this person is the type to Hoover or not. And you said, I just don't want to get my heart broken again. I love my wife, but this has been torturous. Well, you said if there's a child involved, so I didn't, actually, as I reread that, don't know if you have custody or not, or if you're in a co-parenting situation. That can make a lot of difference as well. But you said you're currently being ghosted, so I don't know what that means for custody, right? But also, you don't want to get your heart broken again, and right now you're being ghosted. So it sounds like maybe, commenter, you're susceptible to a Hoover, that you're worried about if you would get back with them even after divorce. And believe me, I say this with empathy and no judgment, because this happens to so many people. And I've worked with lots of clients in these circumstances as well. And out here to resonate with anyone, I mean, why do I always put, I'm out here to resonate with you if I can, but I'm out here to work with anyone who would want to work with me because I resonate with you. Maybe one day I'll get that right. Lately, I'm not getting it right. So, you don't want to get your heart broken again. You love your wife, but this has been torturous. Well, I think if you're not already working with someone, you need to get into a healing recovery process working with someone who's an expert in this area, because it sounds like you're really still susceptible, as more people than not are, even after divorces, with a BPD wife or husband, but in this case, it sounds like wife. You know, whether or not the payments are keeping her at bay, whether or not you have custody or it's co-parenting, shared custody, or I don't know. But the point is that you said right now you're being ghosted. So yeah, that should have been my first clue. Sorry for not picking up on that sooner, that you're really still in a cognitive dissonance place. And that's a risky place. It's like you're sitting on top of the toboggan hill, or the slide, so to speak, but you don't want to go tobogganing and you don't want to slide down the slide, but you're at the top of the slippery slope of, if she isn't ghosting you and she does Hoover you, then what, right? And so yeah, you don't want to get your heart broken again. Well, the best way to not get your heart broken again is to get into help, like I said, and to work this through, and to work on healing your codependency and your family of origin issues that will be being replicated and or similar to the feelings that you're having about your ex right now. And yeah, you said you love your wife. So maybe not divorced yet, I don't know. But you said you love your wife, but it was torturous. Well, I think you have to focus more on that it was torturous than you love your wife. Because sometimes, before people work all the way through these healing and recovery processes, it's really important to focus on what you really need to remember the most, which is that it was torturous, not that you loved her, right? Because if you're getting a divorce, or if you're, I don't know if you're divorced yet or not by the comment, and anyone that resonates with this, so you're saying you're being ghosted, even though there is a divorce underway or you are divorced, then I would just suggest to the commenter and anybody that can relate to this, you're not out of the woods yet, right? Like, you're not in this place of done, had enough, need to get help, need to move on. That's a really risky place to be, because as you said, you don't want to get your heart broken again. The place that you're kind of sitting in, it sounds like, of like, it was torturous, I don't want to get hurt again, I'm being ghosted right now, so that's good, positive, helpful. But what if she hoovers me? It sounds like if she hoovers you, you're not in a position emotionally to not kind of get back involved. And that's the worst thing you could possibly do for you. So really important that you remember and focus on the torturous part, why it didn't work, how it never can work, and just your focus on will they hoover, understandable. But then when you add in, I'm being ghosted right now, you know, I could be wrong, commenter, right? And this might apply to someone else more than the commenter, but it sounds like you fear hoover, but that you haven't totally let go of maybe kind of somewhere wanting a hoover. Because you don't really want the torture, but you still love your wife. And I don't know if it's your ex-wife or not, but if it is your ex and you said wife still, it's another kind of red flag for the slippery slope that you're really on emotionally. So remember that it was torturous, and I'm sorry to hear that. And I don't know what's happening with the child custody, etc. But if you're in any kind of co-parenting situation, that low contact must be cultivated, and those boundaries strategically formed and dealt with when a person with BPD crosses over them. And any contact whatsoever with an ex when there's a child involved in co-parenting, if that's the situation, it could be for others, I'm not sure about you, commenter, then people need to learn and practice how to communicate only about the child and how not to take on the emotions, the feelings, the guilt, the just stuff that the ex can throw at you if they're not ghosting you. So I don't know if other people can relate to this comment. There probably are people out there, because I know I've had a lot of clients in this situation at varying different times and working with people for almost 33 years now. So bottom line is that there's nothing that motivates or will change the motivation of a person with BPD if they're going to hoover you. If they believe, and just your energy, commenter, as well, like you're being ghosted right now, sounds like that's probably what you mostly want, but not 100% yet, which is problematic. Because, you know, I'm not saying that it's ever a person with codependency's fault when an ex hoovers or whatever. But this commenter, you sound like you're in, and other people may relate, a very precarious situation. It was torturous, but I still love her. And right now I'm being ghosted. It's almost like, do you know what you want? You might know what you need. Like, it was torturous, but doesn't sound like, it sounds like you really need to get help because you're not in a secure place of, I'm done with this. I need to get help. I need to move forward. I need to process this. I need to heal from this. So for the commenter and anyone else that might resonate with this, this is like being in a no man's land. You know, I'm being ghosted right now. We are either seeking a divorce or about to be divorced. She's getting payments, and I hope that'll keep her at bay. But I still love her, but like it was torturous. I would really recommend to anybody that relates to this or the commenter, you need to get in a healing and recovery process now so that you can learn much more about why you're feeling the way you are, because although a lot of it is about your relationship to this person with BPD and the marriage and having a child, it isn't all about that. And so working with someone can help you to be understanding more about your situation, specifically with this person that you are married to with BPD and the child and what's going on in the situation, but how you can get out of this cognitive dissonance place of, right now I'm being ghosted, which you sort of sound like that might be positive, but maybe not totally. And you love her, but it was torturous. And, you know, lots of people still love the BPD ex after the relationship's over, or have love for them, or care about them. Lots of others are angry and don't care and don't want to know about them anymore. And then people can kind of heal that and whatever. But the key thing here is that the way you've written your commenter, and the way I've heard this from clients over the years as well, it suggests strongly that you're in this sort of betwixt and between place where you're not fully in a place where you're ready to you know, like, are you no contact so she can't Hoover? Or if it's child custody, shared co-parenting, are you in the lowest of contact? But reach out to somebody if you haven't already and start working on this, because you still love her. You don't know if she's going to Hoover or not. It sounds like in a lot of ways you don't want her to. In a lot of ways you like being ghosted, but it doesn't sound definitive. It sounds like you're in that limbo place of like, maybe if she were to Hoover, I still love her. So even though it was torturous, maybe we could try again. And that's not where you want to be, even in thought, just a little bit. So I hope that was helpful, and take care.